No, certainly not. Okay, thank you. Thanks for visiting our second community night. It's absolutely fantastic how many people want to visit here. It's some of our biggest events we've ever done here, and we have some more people than last year. And last year we think it's absolutely fantastic how many people we get in this office. So special thanks also for our guests here. I think some small applause as it is quite absolutely thank you. First of all, we have to start by you four. So I want to start with briefly yourself, a little introduction, your experience, what you do, I think, last years, and what system you have represented. I think we'll start here with Andreas.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah, my name is Andreas. I'm the representative of Magento here, but I'm not working for Magento or Adobe, so it's not official at all. I'm working with Magento. And since 2008, and I'm a developer. I used to be a freelancer, and I co-founded an agency 10 years ago, which is still working with Magento only. Well, as a developer and as a consultant and as an active community member, doing talks, presentation, organizing our local meetup in Aachen about Magento, doing Stack Overflow and all that stuff, traveling around Europe, and well, that's my experience with Magento, and that's why I'm here.
So especially I like the last part of traveling around Europe, so it's a good part of experience.
It's important.
I need to write it down. So I'm Denis Turkov. I'm VP Architecture at Spryker. I represent Spryker Systems today, and I started working with Spryker as core developer. So I was actually building the first version of the system and then growing it from just the framework, then to a commerce system, then to different business verticals, then adding the cloud to it, and then adding when we found that the number of applications is just going out of hands that our customers and partners build, building now application composition platform to get and enable other technologies on our platform to get them connected so that they are also very well interoperable in our ecosystem. Yeah, so I don't do traveling much, unfortunately, so I wrote it down, so I need to make it more. But also, I myself contribute to community in KPHP in the Propel. By the way, Propel ORM. Some of you probably know that this is one of let's say long-lasting ORM, like one of active record ORMs that's still available on the market. By the way, and we at Spryker we contribute to it and maintain it as well, and a couple of other open source solutions. So yeah, that's me.
Hello everyone, I'm Mateusz Zalewski and I'm representing Sylius. I'm connected with Sylius for the last 10 years, probably something like this. I started to be a part of the Sylius core team a few years ago already, and I have been responsible for working with Sylius, contributing to it, maintaining, developing architecture, also then doing some consultancy, making some training sessions, traveling over to Europe. Yeah, so you need to work on that. I thought that this is the only reason why you're doing it, to travel. Yeah? So traveling to make some talks and contributing to the ecosystem, the open source ecosystem, Symfony ecosystem, and Sylius ecosystem. Yeah, and right now I'm presenting not necessarily Sylius company, but Sylius core team, because for already the last year and a half I own an agency that is working on top of Sylius. Yeah, and I'm really happy that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm Sona. I'm working since 6.5 years for Shopware. I started in the Shopware 5 core team, and then we built Shopware 6. So after some time, I switched to the Shopware 6 core team and helped there with my power to build the new stuff. Since then, I'm working in the core team, we are building the foundation and so on. I'm also traveling a lot. Yeah, besides Shopware, I'm very active also with OpenSearch, so I'm the OpenSearch PHP SDK maintainer and also doing a ton of other open source, NixOS and so on. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks to all four. And some few words about our guests. It's absolutely cool if you want to also jump in with a question and to motivate you more for bringing yourself into this kind of discussion. We have some giveaways. That's the some 5 of these blue elephants was sponsored by Shopware. We also want to take to give it to you if you have some cool question. We have at the end of this night some celebration, and you have the chance to get one of these 5 elephants. So if you have a question or say something else to kind of this point of discussion, raise your hand and maybe we choose it.
Can we also win one of them?
No.
Choose. But they have a good question.
Maybe.
And, yeah, this is already a question, right?
Yeah. Okay, we want to start with some nice words because you introduced yourself, and we want now that you say something nice to the other people in your round. So we have a question to you. So, what system do you want to choose if you will not have to choose your system you represented here now? We begin with Andreas. Oh no, we begin from the other side. So
Okay.
at this time.
I think I would choose Sylius.
Oh, and why? It's important.
Okay. Of course, I want to
sure.
start with that. Because it's kind of it's really good, integrated with Symfony. So when you're now Symfony, you can just go in and what really cool is that it's kind of deterministic extension system. That's for me when I don't know, as I saw, when you extend an entity, you just go in and add the trait of the extension, and it's just completely visible how each extension interacts with other extensions. So that's because I have the other pain, but we can talk. I can explain a lot automatic extension with registration and inheritance, and I can talk a lot. That's why, because I like to have a deterministic system.
Okay, thank you. Next one.
I was thinking about it because my first thing in my mind was Shopware. But right now,
Be together, right?
but right now I'm thinking don't get me wrong, Shopware is.
Great.
But I would really like to try Spryker because the most important reason is that I have no idea about Spryker. I have totally no idea. I have never taken a look at the code of Spryker. Not at all. I have 0 ideas about Spryker. What is it? But from my perspective, that I think it's a little bit less. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a little bit less. You have a little bit less freedom in doing things in Spryker. It's a little bit more strict than I'm used to. We can argue about that. So I think that it's a little bit different. It's a much different paradigm from what we are doing. That in Sylius, in Spryker is much more enterprise based, from the very beginning. So I would like to see how such a project is working. So Shopware would be cool, Magento would be cool, but I would say that they are a little bit closer to my view about what e-commerce is than Spryker right now. That's an optimism. That's a good thing that I don't.
That's why we have we published all the code 7 years ago for you can actually look in that and play with this.
Yeah, because I had to know about that, but I didn't know about it. So
we'll get personal invitation.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, that's a hard choice actually. And the question is not complete. It depends on what task, right? If you're an engineer, you need to ask requirements, stuff like that. So first of all, I would choose like for projects that I typically do, I would not choose none of us. So I would use Symfony directly. I would use Laravel. I would use Python and Go. There are special languages for special tasks, right? Like I would choose something specialized on that. Also, I think now it's very little about the technology, about specific framework. It is a lot about conceptual part, where I feel like just talking with all the people here, that we have conceptually very similar systems on the design side. Like if you get to know the design patterns, by the way, that's the entry point that you need to pass. So there is like for Spryker, you need to know a number of patterns before you actually get to the system. That's different from many other e-commerce software. Also like Magento, right? You can start building with Magento without like knowing much, right? You can start, yeah. Like believe me, Spryker was always complaining that we need to train developers really hard to get the first step down. But that's basically when you have the basics, right? Then it doesn't matter. I would like to try each of them. So I would like to try the new generation of Magento. I want to see where Magento is moving. I also would like to see what Sylius has to offer, because again, having this limited scope gives you a lot of opportunity to innovate, to bring really cool developer experiences, right? And that's something that for example, Magento, and we discussed about that a bit earlier, cannot allow with having this long tail of customers, right? Like having too much of change, right? You cannot just have BC break and BC break one after another. But Sylius is still very young and super cool, and I would love to try Sylius for just for that reason, because you guys, I believe, doing really good on the developer experience. I hope so. And there are some things to improve, right? But in general, I love it. So and the Shopware as well, right? So because Shopware, I know it's represented again in DACH mostly, and that's why it's not visible for all over the world. But looking that now Shopware is going into these different business verticals in different markets, it also means the system is actually alive. The system is actually dynamic. It's actually developing further. So to be honest, I would try each of them for very different reasons.
Okay, good answer.
Can I get an elephant?
So last one.
Yeah, I'd like to give two answers because I'm wearing.
That's absolutely cool. Yeah, answer free.
Only one elephant.
But shorter. Because I'm wearing two hats. I'm wearing the hat of an agency co-owner, and as that, I probably choose Shopware, because they have a really great market standing in Germany, and I think it's easier to sell Shopware projects than it is to sell a Magento project, a Sylius project, or a Spryker project. And that's the main reason why I'd try Shopware as an agency owner. Also because I like some people there, I know some people there, and I've heard good things about the software. But as a developer, I'd probably be more eager to try Sylius, because I've heard really good things about it. I don't have personal experience with that, but I've spoken to a lot of people who were doing Magento before and compared it to Spryker, to Sylius, to Shopware, to Shopify, or what other systems, and Sylius seems to be the system which is closest to the open source spirit, which I really like, and it's based on fully on open source software. And, I really like the approaches I've heard about it. That's the main reason why I'd like to try it. It doesn't mean I stick to it, because I haven't tried yet.
You will.
Maybe.
Yeah, cool. Oh, everybody was a cool answer. I think I love the idea of giving some nice words at the start of such a discussion. But I think it's cool to go in some steps back, because the most of you told something about Symfony, and that's, for example, the name of this night, the Symfony Community Night. The most projects you also represent make a choice in the last years. The choice was absolutely build their ecosystem on Symfony or using a lot of components from Symfony. So not all systems here are absolutely absolutely all on Symfony, but a lot of people use Symfony. So I would now ask you not step by step, so in the round of you, why you all agreed on Symfony. So what's your ideas of choosing that system or that framework?
Yeah, I'm out because
Because I don't like Symfony.
Magento doesn't use a lot of Symfony, to be honest. It's just some components like the console command, which is great, but for the other parts, Magento is its own framework, using Zen framework or Laminas as a base, but mostly it's its own framework. So
we can make an opposite question: why you didn't go
Absolutely.
with Symfony? I know you don't want to answer.
Yeah, I can answer because in 2008, it's a historical answer, more or less. Magento was the first shop system of the modern type, and I tried it out and I loved it as a computer science. It was a huge step forward towards OS commerce or XD commerce or things like that, and I stick to it, and market was great and people were great, and I saw no reason to change it ever, and I don't see up to now, so that's the main reason why I stick to Magento, why I decided for Magento, and I didn't decide against Symfony or any of your systems, but I decided for Magento.
Yeah, I totally understand. It was a positive choice of choosing for Magento. Do you think that right now we are going back to the question, obviously, but
Absolutely good.
Yeah, do you think that it's because my perspective, correct me if I'm wrong, but my perspective is that it can be a little bit limiting for the people that are using Magento, that if you're using Magento, you're looking for Magento developers generally, people that already know Magento. If you're, for example, from my perspective working with Sylius, you can look for Symfony developers, and generally people who know Symfony would work with Sylius well. So do you think it's limiting for the people that are using Magento? Like, obviously a lot of developers know Magento because it's quite old, but don't you think that it would be a reason to move a little bit forward into the Symfony or open source framework?
It's interesting that it's coming from Sylius, right? Who is like fully following the philosophical way of building on.
That's
Symfony.
obviously that we're on opposite angles of the approach. But I'm thinking out loud just. If you think that if you move with Magento a little bit closer into the Symfony, maybe it would be easier for people into jumping into Magento.
Yeah, I fully agree. It has been a problem in the past because we as agencies weren't able to get developers for a long time. Well, we got some developers, of course, but we could have used more of them. Magento always wasn't the most intriguing for junior developers or for developers starting out, and so that was limiting, of course. Still, Magento had a market share of 30% at one time. We are far from that now, but that built a huge community. And right now we don't have that problem anymore because the market isn't that great anymore. So there are Magento developers more easily available, and we got a huge deposit, more or less. Some people are switching, but still it was a problem in the past, and it could be a problem in the future again, because you need Magento developers, and you can't use any PHP or Symfony or Laravel developer. So yeah, you're right.
So let me a little. So I'm doing this first time in the history, but let me protect Magento one time. So I think it's very it's very interesting, like how you state the question, because you're stating the question from the very point of view of Sylius, which is again following quite strictly the Symfony philosophy. The point is that if you solve this type of problems, you need this type of developers who have experience with Symfony. But if you solve different other types of problems, then you need other developers with special skills for that. And I can answer it just through prism of our system. That it's not every Symfony developer can operate in the enterprise commerce space that we do. You need to have something on top of that. You need to know event-driven architectures. You need to know a bit more about designing larger integrations and larger moving systems, not just one applications. And then I understand that for Sylius it's the main driver to get the community on board, to have that good alignment between Symfony and Sylius. But on the other side, if you solve a different type of problem, that actually stops. It was stuck in us actually. When we had these wrong messages to developers that if you know Symfony, you can work in enterprise space, which was wrong. And many agencies fail on that. It's really hard. And that's why we said, no, it's that not enough. It's like, again, it's now a bit out of Magento space, but to Spryker, that we are not based in Symfony, we are leveraging the bundles from Symfony, but also we leverage a number of other frameworks, by the way, right? We use Pimple in the past, we use Silex.
Oh, that's some topic later.
Right? But why? No, like, there is a number of things that we use, right? And the point is that to solve problems in the market that we operate, just not enough to have Symfony on your CV, right? While for Sylius, maybe it's now the fact, right, that this is very much aligned, that if you are a Symfony developer, you can solve this, a Symfony developer can solve problems that Sylius system is solving, right? But I think by extending it in the future, that might be also not aligned as well, right? Like it might change.
I understand what you're talking. This is interesting thing because it's somehow aligning with both the technical and business approach that we have in Sylius, because this is a system that is not trying to solve too much problems generally. Like, it's trying to solve the problem, the core e-commerce problems, but more likely it's focused on making solving problems easy for you, but only like to make it easy to solve your own business problems. So comparing to, for example, Magento or Spryker, we are not making, and don't get me wrong, it's not a bad thing that I'm talking right now, but we are not making too much assumptions about the problems that we'll be solving. We are just making them easy to be solved in the future, and that's why it aligns a lot with the being open to Symfony developers, the Symfony community. So it's aligning from both business and technical point of view, that we would like to be as much open technically and businessly, because we are not trying to assume too much regarding the system that we are providing.
That totally makes sense. Thinking what I am explaining, that it's not a slider for like more Symfony compliance or less Symfony compliance.
Obviously.
We operate in different space. We say, look, this is an enterprise space. We have very complex integrational problems. And then you say what technologies you need for that to solve this type of problems, right? And then you're not saying, okay, we just want to have more Symfony to invite more developers. We need to have developers with a profile that covers actually all of these business requirements. That's kind of a choice that also Magento did in the past, right? So Magento also was not very much aligning like, okay, let's follow more Symfony just because we have more access to developers, because the problem that Symfony is solving is very generic, right? Like, and Magento wanted to focus on specialized problems, right? Again, because I feel this pain sometimes, right? Like that developers that just join this enterprise development space, they ask us the same thing. It's very good that you brought it up, by the way. They ask us the very same thing, like, guys, why you use 12 Symfony bundles, right? We do. But why we are completely not based on Symfony? And then if you would look into types of scalability, performance, distributed teams that we need to manage, right? Typically on Spryker systems, there are hundreds of developers working on the same system, which there must be no pull request clash between them, right? And the system should, by design, provide you with this, by design, solutions to such problems, right? So again, this is not a slider to me, right? It's kind of, we operate in different space, you would choose a number of systems that would suit this problem statement.
The other thing that I would argue with the statement that there is something like, we can call that any system is fully based on Symfony. Like the way how Symfony is positioning itself right now, by having multiple packages and like bringing the universe of packages, and you can get whatever you want. it's positioning itself to not be the full solution to base on, but rather the spectrum of specific bundles that is solving specific problems. That's why even if Sylius is usually said that this is fully based on Symfony, that's from the historical reasons, because we actually started to work with Symfony since Symfony 2.0 or something like this, when Symfony was less diverse, more focused on being a single Symfony package. Obviously, right now we can also use the Symfony, but it's more focusing on making it distributed over the packages. So this time, 10 years, 8 years ago, we can say that something is fully based on Symfony. Right now, we can say that it's using more or less Symfony packages. I will go this way.
Kind of just pick what you want, what you need for your project.
So how about Shopware?
No, I'm really interested. I also want to jump to Shopware, because Shopware made some interesting decisions in the last years. We go a little bit more steps to Symfony and build our last versions a lot of Symfony. Maybe you could talk about it a little bit. Why you choose this discussion or this discussion?
Yeah, like in our old product Shopware 5, we also started with Zen Framework 1 and then started to add Symfony because
that's old school, really.
Yeah, that's really old school.
I got something in my heart now.
But it's still maintained.
Yeah.
There's people maintaining it.
Yeah.
So we just started with Zen Framework 1 and then Symfony started as a component. So we started with the dependency injection and then more part of Zen Framework, good abstraction, so that Zen session looks like Zen session, but in real it's Symfony session. But the users don't see a difference, so nothing breaks, and really complicated stuff. But at some end, we wanted to make a new card, and when you give developers the choice to make a new card, they completely escalate and break everything. And it was so different from Shopware 5. We thought it makes not so much sense to break so much Shopware 5. Let's just build a new product. And then we discovered, hey, let's go what's the most people are using in the PHP space, to gather people which know Symfony, as can talk. So that's why we use Symfony with Trig and so on. But of course, Symfony is flexible. You use just what you want, and it's also flexible.
But the good question regarding the journey that you had with switching into more Symfony, why Symfony not Laravel, for example?
Laravel was not big at this time, and the really big value we get from Symfony is the LTS. It's you can plan with that. With Laravel, I think last year they started with LTS. Before that, there was no LTS. It's difficult for us to say we go to Laravel, because we cannot say to the customers how long they get security update, and when they don't do it, we have to do it, because they use our system. So it's with Symfony more plannable, that every 4 version is an LTS and can update. That's also why we really want to ditch dependencies and use more the Symfony stuff, because it's plannable. And you know it's working. We have a lot of stuff, everyone knows HTTP clients, and they sometimes change in major versions to completely the interface, and it's annoying for us, and it's more annoying for the ecosystem. And we don't have such scenario with Symfony. They make one HTTP client, it looks similar since it exists, and looks and feels so.
There is one thing that you mentioned at the beginning. I want to unpack it because I feel it's super cool actually. You said something about a Symfony package similarities, right? That you're choosing because it's familiar, and that's what I feel. When you are using Symfony components, you actually don't. It's not necessarily the code that you use. The thing that you use these patterns and the way of building and expectations to the next bundle, package, you name it, right? But that you have working in the Symfony paradigm, it just simplifies your day-by-day job, that you know where to look for stuff, how to build your next extension to it, right? Even if a framework like Magento, probably Spryker as well, using Symfony components, you just know how to build the next one. It's not necessary just to follow only our architecture rules. You just build another Symfony bundle and you're just fine with that, right? You can continue, and your expectations are met, and you work in familiar to you and code base. So I don't think it's really when frameworks and systems choose for Symfony components, it's not only the code that they choose for, they're choosing for this philosophical approach, right? Like how you approach it, what to expect from it, how it would behave, how it would work with security, right? Like I actually learned a lot how to approach security topics by looking into Symfony core. Like if you ever would look how HTTP and security works bundles in the Symfony, you understand a lot about programming itself, right? And this is you are choosing not actual component, you're choosing the way of building stuff.
Which is probably even more important. Like I would say, because if you're working with some packages, you can like the code that is inside or not, but if they're bringing the value to your application, if you're bringing the approach that you like and that you can extend and use easily, this is the biggest thing that you can, like the most important thing that you can have from such a framework. So. Obviously, we can have plenty of complaints what is happening inside the Symfony code base. Like I don't say it's wrong, but obviously there are a lot of things that can be improved. Like in every other project, yeah, obviously. But that's what you said. The way how it works, the way how kind of paradigm of the programming is bringing into your application. This is the most important thing. So I just want to say that I agree with you.
Before we agreed to disagree, by the way. And now it's done. No, again, this is something. I hope it's obvious, right? Like it's again there are ways of building software, and it's not necessary that you're choosing this component for its implementation. Don't necessarily that you're taking it for functionality. Sometimes you're choosing a number of components, like framework, for example, from Symfony, because you want to bring a part of philosophy into your developer, that your developers would build and will operate within this philosophy, right?
I'd like to hear from you how you are handling security. Obviously, the security part which concerns Symfony, you take that from upstream. But what about the framework-specific stuff, about the Spryker, the Shopware-specific stuff, the Sylius-specific stuff? Do you have bug bounties? Do you have a security policy? How do you handle it?
That's a very good question. I don't like this question.
Security.
Who cares about security?
This question makes you insecure.
Don't listen to Victor. What I wanted to say is, because Sylius is not, and it's not an end project. Yeah? You are not taking Sylius and building already on top of it a shop. So you can do it obviously, but you are not usually doing it. Sylius is showing its power when you are customizing it a lot, bringing your own business value, bringing a lot of custom functionalities on top of the core e-commerce that you have. So besides what we are actually having from the Symfony security, and we are following the best practices from Symfony regarding security, we don't have even we don't even have the possibility to assume too much regarding the security itself, because it's based on so different reasons, different angles that you can take a look at it. So it's more, we would like more to focus on educating people from the Sylius community how to approach securities in the specific problems, rather than providing the solutions that are working out of the box. Because at the end, Sylius is not meant to be working out of the box. So people are asking about security because, as you can expect, this is the common question that is usually popping out when somebody would like to choose Sylius. Is Sylius secure? I would say Sylius is secure as much as the Symfony is secure. So in a reasonable way.
I just wanted to say that like you can ignore security as much as you believe and trust Symfony, right? Like you need to say big thanks to Symfony,
yes,
providing this infrastructure that again Sylius is so leveraged.
Yeah, and at the end, the Sylius is not even it's an open source. It's not even provided with any dedicated infrastructure. So there are a lot of different levels on how security should be solved on both code, but also infrastructure level. All of this stuff. So we are mostly working on based on the education and consulting because of that, because we are not we are not the project that you would use out of the box just right now. So I didn't want to say that we don't have to care about security, because obviously we have to, as any other project. But I think it's a little bit less important, even it's still important topic than in projects like Magento, for example, or Spryker.
So you repeated my thoughts a couple of years ago, like probably 5 years ago. I was very strong on this opinion actually, and then I learned it hard way that educating developers it is not enough. And you learn it hard way in enterprise systems only once. With security, you play around, you can shuffle requirements, you can push it down, you can say not today, after release, we'll fix it, right? But you do it only once. Once you fail, and you get the whole cart house broken. So in Spryker, we took from the very beginning. We took a very different approach in that. We took security by design. So we are looking for solutions, for architectural design solutions that would give developers no chance to actually make a mistake. So the only one type of problems and bugs that I found is resolved. It's something that you can automate. If you can test it, if you can automate it, it's a result. It appeared that we don't have these bugs anymore, right? And the same with security. So what we are looking for, it's usually when we bring in a system, and you can see it as a red line through each of Spryker products, that there is a lot of thinking in these by design solutions. I will just give a couple of them. So we have a strict separation between the backend system and the front-end system, where a front-end system is exposed to your customers and they can call an API. But then there is a backend system that no system can call except the front-end system. So we have a clear separation between those. And we don't allow sharing data from the backend system, from the database with storefronts, with denormalized storages. We never store customer data somewhere outside, and this is it's really coming from backend and frontend separation, but then also validation that there is. If you want to make this mistake, you need to do a lot of coding. That's what I want to say, right? If you really want to make the publish customer password somewhere over Spryker frontend, you would need to write a lot of code, because we made it really hard for you to build something like that. If you want to build a system that would expose this data pieces that would be covered by data privacy somewhere outside, you need to find workarounds. You need to screw Spryker system to do it. Yeah, and this you can find it in every level, starting from cloud. So we're looking for very strict cloud isolation that you're getting notified, screened, and it's really hard to screw system up. Then on application level, and then the composition level. That even across applications, if you want to deploy a broken or insecure application, you need to think how to work around Spryker interfaces and processes.
I understand what you're talking. This is the difference in the paradigm of what kind of the e-commerce solution would like to provide, because you said that in Spryker it would be really hard because you don't allow developers to do some things to break security. I totally understand this approach. I would say that in Sylius you are allowed to do everything that you want, because at the end you own the code. Yeah? You are just getting the code, you are owning it, you could do whatever you want with it. That's why I understand what you said about the educating, and the education is not enough. I would say
it's good. I don't eliminate it, right? It's also important. I don't try to make it trivial. It's not easy, and it gives a lot of benefits, right? But what I think that it just not enough. If you want to give your developers security, that they on daily basis they don't need to validate and think about security, you need to also suggest them design solutions. That by design it's very hard to screw it up.
Yeah, but on the other way, in Sylius, for example, we then at the end, every Sylius developer is the master of their fate. Like every Sylius developer that's working with Sylius has the full power of do everything that they want to do with the code. Yeah. So we don't even actually have even tools to forbid people doing some things in the code or making it hard. We could make it harder, but it would be against the philosophy that we are working. I would not say that obviously for different segments of the market or for different types of projects, the different approaches would be relevant. I can only say that we have never ever heard about any major security problem that we had with Sylius itself. We are mostly focusing on making the security from the point of view that we are not making like the security for developers itself, so making it easy to upgrade the Sylius version every time when some kind of security problem is popping out in Sylius itself or in Symfony or any other thing. It's easy as hell to upgrade Sylius to another version, and this way we are caring about the security while taking it as with the cost that it can be broken at the end application. Yeah. We know that, and we just think that this is a correct way right now to solve Sylius philosophy within the e-commerce.
Look, I'll just summarize it with what I usually say to my architecture team. The famous words of Spider-Man. So the great power implies great responsibilities, right? So if you have a great power, of course.
It's actually the words from Uncle Ben.
From Uncle Ben.
Yeah,
from the movie Spider-Man. That's right. So the point, right? So that if you get...
It's not funny, it's like...
I think it's interesting that you say you didn't have a big security incident.
Because it's yet.
Yes.
Always when you say security incident, yet.
But I think it's also due to the fact because Sylius is not as big as Magento, and if it
obviously the scale changes things.
Would have been attacked more. And that's the reason why Magento has introduced so many security measures in the past, and they learned from that. In Magento at one time we had some huge problems also because of the then owner eBay didn't take care of security a lot, and they preferred obscurity and didn't want the public presentations about security published and stuff like that, and that changed a lot when eBay was out of the game, and then the internal paradigm changed a lot, and since then Magento is very active in the community area, I'd say, and up to now Adobe is bringing out security patches every 2 months, and that's the one greatest thing Adobe is still doing for Magento, even if they don't care for the open source edition too much. They do a lot for security, and I wouldn't have asked that question if Magento wouldn't be great, in my opinion, about security. So
you can always find something in the code. I'm talking with a lot of pen testers. They find always something where you would say nobody will do that. It's really not possible to reach that. You need to have 56 to do before.
That's not the developers.
That you have always something in the application because the pen tester find always something, and that's maybe it was also Magento doing, and we also we getting always you prioritize it low because it's not so critical because I don't know, we didn't set a header or something. It's really hardening, and it's also always for us is it a security vulnerability, or is it hardening to make the system more robust against security stuff? And we have bug bounty, and we get a lot 20 tickets every week, a lot really much from Asia. I think people love running tools on random shops, and mostly the people think also we are responsible for every Shopware shop outside, so they're also contacting mostly the wrong people with the bug bounty. But
you can contact the agency then.
Yeah, of course. So it's always a game. We do a lot of security checks with pen testers, paying people money for that, to check the software, because when you yourself look at the software, you mostly don't see something because you programmed it. You have I saw this get it from the request. I saw it 50 times, didn't thought about it. I just skipped to the next line, but the pen tester sees something there and says hey, when I do this URL encoding, something happens in this framework, and then the open is different, and you're what? It's like a good example, 1 year before we had like a Twig security vulnerability with like sorting. You can, when you have Twig sort, you can pass an anonymous function, and this anonymous function you can pass exec. It's like people writing like bash their code and then pipe it to sort with exec. Like who thinks about that? And therefore, like there's a lot of things to do.
I honestly have a question. It's a historical question for Spryker. I'm sitting here and wondering about why did you guys choose PHP?
Because we looked at Java.
Yeah. Because honestly, it's not so much a matter of framework in my opinion, because you guys were saying it's more Symfony or more Zend, but finding some Magento developers sounds like you need to know Zend, so it's hard to find developers. But it's also hard to find developers who are familiar with architecture, with enterprise integration patterns, with security concerns. So why did you guys choose PHP? And for me, it sounds more like a platform now. So it's not so much like I can start a shop today with Spryker. It's more like it's a platform. So
You still can start a shop today.
okay, I don't know Spryker, so I'm wondering, but it sounds more like why did you guys chose PHP over Java, for example? I'm a huge PHP fan, don't get me wrong, but from what I'm hearing, also educating developers. Isn't it easier to find someone from the enterprise area who are familiar with those architectural decisions and stuff like that?
Okay, so the question too. Yeah, sorry. We want to extend the question a little bit because we have something else really new to this question to also ask the whole round. Why, especially most of you, everyone of you, choose PHP sometimes? So I would extend also the question, also why all of you choose PHP. Okay, Magento is a little bit older. Then yes, sorry.
Me too, I know.
No. I told Magento. then the other systems. So maybe it's interesting why all our 4 systems are choosing PHP. And also interesting topic, we are all really interested. Do you have any kind of moment where you think PHP has a little bit limited you? Like, for example, asynchrony, for example, is really hard, for example, PHP. I want to talk, maybe we start with Spryker, but I'm really interested in all 4 of you for this point.
Okay, so so there are multiple reasons for that. It's all rooted in the history, so there are a lot of historical elements to that. And the first reason was that we most of, let's say, technical team and management team, by the way, as well, they have somehow a Rocket Internet experience or Rocket Internet basis in the past, where I myself was also a tech lead, so I was building a number of these startups, crazy times. You get 100 days to launch a business and then 1 week to launch a country, and you have 1 month to launch your shop somehow, so do whatever you want. And that's where what one of the learning was, and by the way, in the past I worked with C#, with Java, with .NET Stack, different .NET Stack outside of C# as well, C++, so quite extensive stacks, especially for banking and stuff. But then what was critical is the timing was critical. So what I learned, if you want to push the borders and get a shop running in 30 days, you need very special technology for that, and the mindset. And the thing is, what was working the best in this time, actually PHP developers. They go crazy. They go like one of the probably the beaten nut, right? So the people that already they can do a lot of cool things and just from out of nowhere with this runtime mindset that you don't compile anything, you don't do stuff, you just change your work and you go production. So this mindset, it was very important that with the first people that we were working with, the first agencies that we were working with, that the most active contributors were actually PHP. So like from even in Rocket Internet, the pace of PHP projects was much higher. we had a lot of hopes, by the way, at this topic about limiting PHP. We had a lot of many hopes on reactive PHP that still like driving somewhere there. Like we also like for Spryker when we tried to push it, but in the past we had many hopes. Like it was 2015, 16. Many hopes in this ecosystem, and look at how is it developing, like on the how active it is, how good is the mindset and philosophy of developers who work with PHP. And that was a time when it was already changing. The mindset of developers was changing from WordPress developers. I will just put this function, it will screw up everything, and I will just forget about this next day, to actually very structured approach. After you maybe remember how when PHP 5, even 4, and then 5 was released, how much similar it was looking as Java, right? And then over time, it's just like these borders were less and less visible. And for us at Spryker, what we've seen also that our agencies and partners, they actually had whole Java developer teams working on Spryker, because they were asking that, guys, we hate a technology starting with S and ending with P. You know, from Java we want to get something fresh and new, but also we don't want to learn Go over stuff, right? Like we don't have time for that. We need to really go start really fast. And then they look at Spryker, and then they open code, and they're happy because this looks exactly the same. It smells. The best explanation of what PHP was just an hour ago. Well, how do you say?
It's like Java, but you put the $sign at the beginning, and instead of dots, you're putting arrows.
Done. Done. Exactly. And this was the part. That is the majority of the story, right? And that's also enabled us, especially in the first years, to reach out to more agencies that didn't know that PHP can do business first, but then enterprise, right? Like, it was crazy. Like Magento was pushing PHP into new borders to show that you can build a huge ecosystem, you can build large communities on PHP, which was new, right? Like it was amazing how large communities can be built around PHP. But then we at Spryker, we decided, but then we take this challenge and we show how you can build enterprise software based on PHP, right? And now over time, we don't get this question. I get like, if like 5 years ago, I was getting this question probably on every 5th pipeline deal. So someone was calling me and saying, Denis, why did you choose PHP? Someone from our sales team, I mean, because the customer is asking. Now it's such a rare question because it's now, it's a platform question. Like in all of these languages and then frameworks, they learn from each other so much that if you are familiar with these patterns, with the high level and design patterns, you really can understand the code written in Java and C# if it follows the general rules, right? And then that's why for me it was easy to read Sylius first time I just opened it, because I know this stuff, right? And this is not because I know PHP, because I know that they use patterns, I know what they use here, there. So that was the main reasoning. So first of all, again, like if I would summarize, long story, but to summarize, there was, first of all, we were looking for the right mindset for this time, right? I think that this mindset at some point was moving into Node.js, honestly speaking, right? Like if I would now be crystal clear, I think that in somewhere in 2000, I don't know, 15 up, right? Like plus, this mindset was also developing crazy in JavaScript community. Mindset, I mean, really, like this philosophical approach that you do fast things, you do this functional programming, you leverage the best of the language, you deploy the release very fast, right? In Java, this mindset that your feature development can take six weeks, that was not acceptable for us. Yeah, we had really clear that every feature development should be finished in 1, max 2 weeks. That's it. Any feature, right? Independently from how big is that, and that was very limiting. The people that we could reach to. Again, I don't want to kind of disqualify Java developers. I think they are great developers in that, right? But that was my personal experience, right? That was my historical development over this time when we were making a decision to continue with PHP.
Yeah.
That brings the question to the other three. I think also.
Yeah, I would say that maybe this question is like, because the question is not why we chose PHP, because this is a simple question. We chose PHP because we knew it.
You didn't know.
I didn't know personally, but the guy that started Sylius project, he knew PHP, so he started to work with PHP because this is the obvious reason. The question is, why didn't we switch to any other language when we started to do something really serious with the project? So this is the most important question. And I would say that the experience from me when I joined Sylius, started working with Sylius, as you said, I didn't know anything about the PHP. I wanted to be a Java developer because I don't know how about you, but in Poland, if you are going to the university and you're studying IT, you by default are a Java developer. Like this is the default settings that you have applied in the university. And then when I started to work with Sylius, so Pavel said to me, so this is like a Java, like we say, Java with $, and arrows. I thought that, okay, so let's give it a try. And actually it was something like he didn't like much. When we started, because when I joined Sylius, it was version 0.13, so much lower than the stable version. It took us like 3 years or 2.5 years to release the stable version after I joined Sylius. And we have never, during our adventure, encountered a problem that was limited by the PHP itself. Usually, when we're right now taking a look at the project that are using Sylius, infrastructure is a problem, database is a problem, so connection to the database, queries, so ORM, these are the problems that are popping out in the projects. The problems related to the PHP, to the language itself, this is like the less than 1%, really. And obviously I can say that this is only my bubble, this is the type of the problems that are Sylius projects and Sylius developers facing, but we have never encountered anything that was not solvable within this PHP ecosystem. And in the ecosystem itself, it became much more mature over the last 10 years. Like the language itself is getting better and better. When I started to work with Sylius, it was PHP 5.6 because it was like a long time the newest version, and nothing was happening with the PHP. But then pretty quick the PHP 7 started, and then it was starting to be developing even more in a more structured way. Right now we are having really regular releases of the new PHP versions. We have a lot of really cool packages that we are using. A lot of people are using PHP community, like people from the tools from the static analysis, tools like frameworks, like Symfony, Laravel, all of this cool stuff. They are really evolving. They are really getting it better and better. There are a lot of cool people, and really, like in Poland, for example, the PHP community is really active. Like it's really something that amazed me from the very beginning when I started to work with PHP. That we have tons of really experienced, really talented developers that have worked with PHP, that are meeting regularly on the local PHP meetups, that we are organizing a lot of really cool PHP conferences. A lot of people from PHP community are thinking about high-level problems like architectural problems with the code style, problems with testing, with the testing methodologies. A lot of this stuff are brought up to the life on the PHP conferences, even though I am not strictly connected with the PHP. So the community itself and the ecosystem, the greatest package manager that you can imagine, the composer. This is just, thank you. It's just great, it's just working really great. And so we have never met the problem that was not solvable with PHP, but we have met a lot of reasons to stay with PHP. So that's why we have never switched to any other language.
Good answer. I think maybe you two. Do you want to extend something to these two?
I would just say, like I'm like with you as a PHP like as a language, but what I like feeling the last years is that the really big companies like going away from PHP, like Microsoft with the Azure SDK, like we lost the Azure blob storage, and I have also the feeling that like the newer technologies get like fewer like ported to PHP. They don't have like really interest to build an SDK for PHP. There was kind of like no interest like from OpenSearch to build one, so I like step up in the community and like maintaining it. So that's kind of like what's like a little bit
Yeah, I understand. I would say that obviously no one knows what will be in the future, and at the end, I think so. Like, we don't have any fortune teller. Language, every programming language, every framework, every library that we're using, these are tools. These are not things that we are not here to code with PHP. We are just coding with PHP because it fits our needs. But at the end, if these needs change, or in the future we will have needs that will not be solvable with the PHP, maybe we will have to switch to some other solutions. So it's not only about the language itself. I think that that's one of the reasons why we would like to call ourselves software engineers, not the PHP developers. Like, the PHP developer is the regular thing that I would like to be a PHP developer. Most of the people would like to be a software engineer or software architect. We would like to solve problems, business problems, with the tools that we have. And PHP and the whole ecosystem for PHP is just right now the good tool that is solving these problems. But if this paradigm will change in the future, if these problems that we'll have in the future will be different and will not be solvable with the ecosystem of PHP that we have, probably we'll have to switch. I'm not talking only about Sylius, because obviously switching the language for the mature project like Sylius, but all of our problems, it would be hard. Like, we cannot just go into the company and say, right now we are switching from the PHP to Java or C#. Let's do that within one week. Yeah. Obviously.
One line up.
Yeah, obviously, but that's what I like. I like to think about the PHP, even though I like the language itself. I really like it. I really like working with it. Yeah. For the last 10 years, I have never. That's a really honest statement from my side. Like, for the last 10 years, I have tried a lot of different languages, and obviously it's maybe a matter of habit, but PHP is the one that I just like on the ongoing work the most of them. That's my personal feeling. But I don't think that we should took anything of this for granted. Like, this is just the tool that is solving our problems. But if anything changes, we will see.
We have a question here?
No, I wanted to just
sure.
Because I think your Node.js comment was spot on. That sort of Node.js took this sort of liveliness from what PHP was before, and I think it's very dangerous for any kind of technology. So Node.js really sort of I would say, introduces sort of this mechanism where it sort of destroys all technology. So something like Sylius or PHP-based systems are completely replaced by something else, like static site generators, and sort of everything that is in PHP is sort of lost or in other communities. But I think that's just the way it is, and it works with every kind of not software. Everything works this way. Something gets old and slow, and I think the really problem I see is from the PHP community perspective. Like, every year, a lot of new people get into programming, and every year it's more people than the year before. But sort of like in a community like PHP, so I don't want to be but like, let's say as a meetup, we are sort of, when I started with PHP, we were like a bunch of 20-year-old guys, and like there was working on this stuff, and I was sort of like, we are all still there, and like it's not that we get
22 years.
Yeah, no, but I would say, like, if you see that there's so many new people, like if you just see that so many new people get into programming, then the share of new people at the meetup that works in PHP would have to be very high, and that's really not that. It's honestly not that much the case. So sort of the age pyramid of PHP is sort of shifting a little bit in a bad direction, I guess. But that's for a lot of technologies, and Node.js is mostly the reason for that.
So I don't want to be party pooper here, but I think we were looking into the past, and I was talking about the past. And it was not only the Spryker initial choice. We were choosing it every year after year. We could build a system on different technology stacks. We were choosing PHP for various very good reasons every year. The thing is that 3-4 years ago we understood that there is first of all no way to that we would sustain as a business with restricting developers to what ways of building software we know. we see developers come with much better ideas than we can ever do. And that's why we see, first of all, in Spryker, we see that the future is behind these platforms. The platform that we started years ago with Heroku, that was a huge breakthrough for platform as a service. How easy it was to bring something up and live and just being available right away, right? And that's, again, platform doesn't not necessarily that it's binding you. AWS is also a platform, right? It's not necessarily binding you, but we are now also on the edge of something completely new. And this AI topic that we didn't hear anything of AI today, but we are now talking really old language. Like when we speak that I like PHP, or we are building projects here on PHP or here on Java, we speak really old school language. We're like speaking like these old schoolers who still believe that they would find a place on the market. That is like, it will change so much, and in such a tremendous way that we won't, we now, hopefully that you already do not actually write code as you did before. You're combining pieces, or you are doing something with existing libraries. You are not building libraries all code yourself. You are using OSS, right? You're using AI to get your code pieces, to stick them together. The development and engineering role will change tremendously. We will forget about these things like I like PHP or I like Java, or I like JavaScript more, Node.js is better here or better there. Like we will speak completely different language just in 1-2 years. We will be stitching things together. We will be. It's also like, you know, people were saying, okay, when electronic book will come to market, it will kill all the rest of printed books. Nobody will ever read printed books. Never happened, right? But still, people have their preferences. Doesn't make you less efficient. Read it on a paper cover or on the ebook. Not at all, right? So you do it does your job, it does what you want from it. And that's again, that's a huge game changer. We will not speak this language that these questions that we are talking about now. We will not talk about them in, I think, 2 years from now. And we will speak something else about stitching things together, how these subsystems, how these libraries come together, coming from different languages. Each of you will come and write it on Go, on Java, on PHP, but then how can we make it all work together? How this ecosystem exists? There are like very big questions for the ecosystem rebirth in this new environment. So again, now I thought that we are answering the past questions, the answer, but I think again now it's changing a lot. If you didn't yet recognize, I highly recommend you look into your day-by-day job and see how it will impact you, because we will not speak this, we will not ask these questions in the future. Do I like PHP?
Totally agreed. Like that's why I believe that we need to think about languages as tools and thinking about from the engineering point of view. Like that we are problem solvers. We are doing what we are doing. We are solving business, usually business, but also business problems in technical way. If AI will pop up so much in our work that we will be just putting the pieces together in 2 or 3 years, and no matter what kind of the programming language it will be, let it be. Let's just use this tool to solve the problems that we are solving right now in a more efficient way. If it doesn't work this way, because I don't know, AI just goes away because it's self-conscious right now and or whatever, we'll go back to
doesn't want to answer anymore.
Yeah, it just doesn't want to answer anymore. Like, okay, let's go back to old school programming with the piece of paper or whatever, yeah? I had actually heard about the lecture on my university, not me personally, but I heard about the guy who was having the lecture that they were learning to code on the piece of paper, and I asked why. Why you are doing that in the 21st century? That's just a curiosity.
I think we drift a little bit with our topic because we're not talking much more about programming. AI is also cool topics too. But I think I have 2 questions. At first, we are talking now much more than an hour. You're ready for more topics? Or
yeah, sure.
Yeah. Perfect.
Throw it on the table. You see.
Yeah, or maybe
we are ready to
talk
pick up
new drinks. I think we will make some queue to bring you the drinks in front of.
Would be great.
Yep.
I would love
Perfect.
it.
Martin?
Martin for me.
Matty? You?
Not Matty. I don't know what is Matty, but
The same here.
yeah, the same.
Okay, you?
I don't need.
Nothing?
Nothing from you guys.
Okay, could we do some Mate and Leonardo? Perfect. Then we want to jump in some other topic because it's really interesting because we are talking a lot about security. And one, I think, biggest security topic is how much you think it's okay to allow customers to bring your own code. We call it plugins, for example. Plugin stores, I think, if you are thinking about WordPress, for example, I think the most impressive security advances in WordPress are all the plugins. Thank you. Thank you very much. They're already installed. Normally, in my opinion, someone installed a WordPress site, for example, installed plugins for free, for example, and 2 years after, never updated it, there's some big security issues. So, my interesting point is now, what you think it's okay enough, or how okay it's to bring his own code or allow a customer to install own code. Okay, we are talking about developer side. It's okay, developers, and hopefully they know what they do. But how it's okay the customer installed maybe buggy or security issue code. For example, Shopware I know has security checks in the plugin store. I saw.
Yes.
Or something else. How you do handle it?
So what we have in the store is like when you upload like your code in the first time, like one employee has to look at the code, like write a lot of comments mostly, because it's like, it's sometimes you have also like discuss about style and so on, but developers are developers. But what we also have is like security scanning, it's like from SensioLabs, the software to scan it kind of like mostly automatically also, that is running like on everything. What we also do mostly is PHP scan, because like then you can like find easy problems when people just wrote like wrong PHP syntax, and we have like a lot of own PHP stand rules to forbid like a lot of things what people should not do in their code, like exec, a lot of evil PHP stuff which you should never do like in your code, like exit, because when you exit your code, so next people cannot extend something because you stop the PHP process, and so on. But from our side, as like in the plugin system in the store, we like check them and mostly allow really a lot. But
what are the limits, for example? What you're not allowed? You're saying you're allowing a lot. What you're not allowed?
Yeah, mostly like exec command, because you know, there's always kind of like a staging or backup thingy. What is mostly like doing exec minus well dump and so on. And it's like people also don't really understand how to secure like execing commands, like with shell escaping shell arcs and so on.
If you are not a developer but someone using the Shopware backend, are you allowed to install an extension from there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so you can like get it from our store, so it's checked from us, and other than that you can just do it on your own. You can program it, just upload it, or you can gather it from somewhere else. But when the source code is not from our store, they can do whatever they want with the plugin.
How it works in Magento?
Yeah,
sorry, I never worked with Magento.
Yeah, sure. I have a problem with that.
this concept called screw it yourself, you know.
I'm very sorry. I work with the other three, but never Magento. Sorry.
Yeah, I have a problem with that. I would never allow any merchant to install a module on their own, not only for security reasons. I trust that you check for security, but also due to performance reasons, you cannot check that automatically.
Of course.
Due to compatibility reasons, to conflict reasons, I would never allow that. Magento made that mistake too in the past with Magento 1. And yeah, there were some problems, and good agencies disallowed that at once. It was the first step we did in the first with a new merchant. And in Magento 2 it was not possible anymore. And I think that's a good thing, because we should always have a responsible developer look over that code and decide whether to include that module or not. And we have had so many modules which we didn't allow because of security issues, because of performance issues or other stuff, or just bad code quality, and we need to have that level in between the merchant and the shop.
So what we do is kind of like, you can like always disable the upload by like an environment variable where you say like, I use only Composer plugin loader, which means you have to install this Composer.
Maybe you could explain for the other one. I think not all of us used Shopware before. How that works for you?
So normally the extension you can put it in the folder custom plugins as in like the Symfony bundle, and then Shopware automatically finds it and you can install it, and then it's like everything runtime. You can like on runtime install extension, uninstall, a lot of stuff with them. But we have a flag that you are forced to do everything with Composer. So it's like for more professional people, like mostly should do everyone. But it's like, but in the end, you don't have control of the user of the shop system. So because we want to have like a lot of people. So but we obviously sales agencies, you can like go and enable this flag or remove the ACL permissions of the user. What we also have is when you try to upload the extension, there's a pop-up is saying like, hey, please don't do it. That's also something which we kind of like was like good feedback from the German DSI. This is they're checking our software very often. They had also this recommendation that like when a merchant gets an email, hey, this is extended, can you upload it? They maybe do it. So there's also like a warning, but I don't recommend doing it. It's like it's a zip. It's also not the deployment way of this century, I think.
This is really nice from the security point of view. We're just asking people to not do insecure things, and they're not doing it anymore. Like, all security problems solved.
Yeah, it's like I'm 80 years old. Yeah.
It's kind of like you cannot like really forbid the user because it's just a software which they use, and a lot of people prefer to work so let them work so when they want to have it.
I got a different opinion on that because you can forbid the merchant, but you shouldn't permit.
You can do it with ACL as agency.
But I'd enforce it on a shop system level. That's my personal opinion.
I would say that in Sylius, obviously we have like we don't have the power over how people are using Sylius code, obviously, because you just grab it and you do it whatever you want. We have the plugin store that is full of plugins developed usually mostly by the community, people from the Sylius community, but also some from our partners, Sylius partners, some from the Sylius core team itself. We had a hell of a journey with the process of accepting people's plugin into Sylius store. If any of you have ever coded any plugin for the Sylius store, and it was a few years ago, and this plugin was rejected at least a few times, that's because of me. Sorry for that, because we had a really we generally in Sylius have a really big standards from the code style perspective, from the testing perspective, from this developer experience point of view. And these standards are very high, but they are not always applicable for all the people that are working with Sylius. Like we have our own rules of how we would like to see the code, how it should behave, how it should be written. Not all of the developers obviously are following all of these rules. I had the moment when I'm responsible for accepting plugins that I rejected all of this stuff that was not written 100% as we would write it, which obviously was a mistake because we had like 3 plugins in our store. Then we lose these requirements a little bit. Right now, all of the plugins that are pushed into the store are checked out from the functionality point of view, from the installability point of view, so either they are installable at all. Obviously, we are also checking if they are bringing some value, because there are a lot of plugins for Sylius. When you can take a look at the packages, you can filter for the type Sylius plugin because there is a specific type for Sylius plugins in the composer. You can see there are a lot of plugins that are just some empty repositories or something that are not bringing any business value at all. Again, from the security point of view, we are trying to check all of the plugins if they are secure and if they are not making any major problems with the code itself. But obviously, as these are just composer packages, you can use whatever you want, even if it's not accepted by us. But okay, you are doing it obviously on your own risk. If you find a Sylius plugin that is not in Sylius store, then you cannot be 100% sure that you are not using something that would be risky for your code. But yeah, we are adults. We are just we just want to treat each other like adult human beings. And I like to think that most of the people that are using Sylius are adult human beings and are responsible for the things that they are doing. So there is no strict way of forbidding people from installing insecure things into their code. Obviously, we are trying to make it easy for people to access the plugins that are will at least not break their application from any point of view. If they are in the Sylius store, then probably we can be quite sure that they are not something that they are something that can be installable in Sylius. It doesn't obviously mean that all of these plugins that we have in Sylius store are perfect. All of the plugins that don't have any problems. It's probably impossible to ensure that all of the packages that we are allowing in Sylius store will be perfect, will be solving all of the problems that should be solving, will not have any bugs or whatever. But it's not the way of the security that we would like to achieve on this.
Maybe same question like Sona, what you absolutely dismiss?
Like what you reject?
It can be harsh a little bit.
It's always difficult.
Yeah.
Not variable names.
Like this is something that is the pain in the back, and if I see that the variable is named the value of data, the good thing is, the good or bad, depends on the point of view, is that I'm not responsible for plugins review anymore. So
now we can push.
You can push whatever you want. No, obviously not. The biggest problems that we had with the plugins that were submitted to the Sylius store were either they were not installable, like the installation instruction was not working. From the developer perspective, experience point of view, as we are focusing on it a lot on Sylius, this is really important that you will not be, that if you try to use the package, it needs to be installable with ease. Like right now, especially with the Symfony Flex and all of the automations that we can make it really easy to make all of the plugins that we're trying to make, to ensure that all of the plugins that are in the Sylius store are easily installable and they are actually working. And the second thing is that
if plugin will screw your system, it will do it easily.
Yeah.
We don't know what is inside. But sorry, just to clarify, you are talking about the third-party plugins that are other buildings. It's not like okay.
Yes. And the other thing that we had a problem when people were pushing their plugins into our store. So right now we still have the submit form that obviously you can publish the plugin as you package and make it a Sylius plugin. But if you would like to have it accepted by Sylius, you need to push it into via the form to the Sylius store. And the other problem that we had was that a lot of the plugins that were submitted were not bringing actually any value. Like if you are making a plugin just for yourself and you are adding two properties into one entity that does not reflect in any way the business value, then okay, nice, it's really nice that you are an active member of the community, but let's work on that a little bit to actually bring something that would be usable for people, and then come back with it after you work on making some actually value for the community. From the code perspective, I would say that we are trying to check the basic code style that is recommended by Symfony, like does the code follow the PSRs? Does the code follow like at least the PHP stand like level 1 or 2 or whatever? I would not be. I don't usually don't want to be. I was, as I said, I was strict a lot about the code style that we were checking in the plugins. But I know that from the experience, I know that there can be a lot of the plugins that are still bringing a good value to the application, even if they are not written perfectly. And this is my, like, I had to put my proud a little bit deeper in myself and say, okay, so it is not the code that I would write, but it's still a valid addition to the ecosystem that's accepted. Yeah. Obviously, yeah, as we are focusing a lot on this developer experience, we'd love to see all of the plugins for Sylius to have the really big code quality. It's not possible potentially, and I don't know how we could enforce that. Only by, again, maybe education of people how they should actually do these plugins to make them better, and why it is important to make them better.
The last system, we have everybody here.
Yeah.
How is Spryker?
I think there are obvious things that everybody does, and if you look what Apple does about their ecosystem, you can find in each of the systems you can find these practices. Right? To a degree, it's called governed marketplace, right? Like if you have a space where someone can publish something, you want to validate that they will be allowed, especially if they have a reach to multiple of your tenants or multiple of your customers at the same time, right? One plugin can reach multiple customers. It's an exponential danger, right? There is something on top that we do. Again, I don't want to make a long story, just short on top of what we do on top of that. The one thing I already explored before, it is security by design. So we do many things by design. We do performance by design, scalability, and security by design. There are like three hot topics that we try to solve by design. Which again, if for a developer it is easy to write a better code, they would never write worse code. Ooh, simple, right? So, and then our goal is, and that's where we spend most of our thinking process, how to make sure that it is hard enough to make a mistake, to make a data exposure, to make data from the wrong system or shared with the wrong system and stuff like that. So many things like that, which if you develop, if you develop on Spryker and it seems easy to you, you're on the right way. If you are building on Spryker and then you feel how to build it, and then it doesn't fit, this doesn't work. Maybe, just maybe, you are actually found one of our design pattern that protects you from these things. But what is important that we are not limiting our developers doing that. They can still do. At Spryker, we allow our developers to deploy almost every code on in their project, because at the end of the day, again, screw it yourself, right? It has pluses and minuses, and one of the benefits, you have full power. On the other side, you will also take this responsibility. But we help developers, right? So we don't want that our developers would face this first time security leak, or they would face this first time performance issue in production after the 10,001 orders a minute, right? That kind of issues we don't want to get into. But the second one is automation. The one thing, again, the only one type of problem that I solved once and ever, and I didn't see them, is those that we could automate. That's why we spend a lot of time automating even security, like specifically as you asked about security. We use tools like SMIC, I don't know how it's read, but SMYK, right? For static analysis, there is a number of tools that we use for dynamic security, SAST and DAST tools. That help not only us to get understanding where our system stands, but also our customers to always have a report and clarity in automation tools. Of course, it cannot touch everything, but even if you in your project would enable Symfony security sniffer, I think it was a reborn some other package, but it's already, you will see how many things actually you do unconsciously. You just do what you said, like this little get parameter. You just seen it 100 times and you do it 100 second time, right? But these things you will forget about them. But this simple, you enable one time in your CI these simple checkers. You think it's so stupid. 120 rules. Who would not learn these 120 rules? You will be the one. You will be the first one who will make a mistake and will forget to put this I don't know, like checker, sniffer, data encoder and so on, the right one. So this is another tool, and one more thing that we do. It's called code analysis and code audit, also on automation-based code analysis, where we use then all the code quality tools like PHP Stan, like PHP MD, like Psalm. And a number of other, like Scrutinizer as well. Like we have a custom version of Scrutinizer to run over our code base, which give to each of our customers and report on automated basis for each of their pull requests. So basically, they can understand if they want to take this responsibility. Because again, this is not about limiting our customers and developers. We understand that sometimes you want to cut a corner, but the thing is that you need to know about that you are cutting the corner now. Right? And making aware, this is task number one for us. So we do it with design, automation on security, and automation on following Spryker architecture, coding, and other standards.
Okay, perfect. I think we are nearing ourselves really fast into our mark. So I think we want to give the chance to the guests. If you're interested in asking a question, one or two, or the whole round, it's now your choice. Anyone want to ask anything in this round? Yes.
Yeah, you were talking earlier about PHP, the language, and the threats that might be there for the language. And you were talking mostly about we are all engineers, so it doesn't really matter, it's just a tool. But I'm seeing like a very opposite development right now, where we used to be PHP developers, and now people are a Symfony developer, a Laravel developer, a Drupal developer, a Magento developer. And to me personally, that feels like a threat to the PHP ecosystem, because people are getting so specialized that right now it's very hard to find a PHP developer. Is that something that is maybe for all of you, but a threat to you as well?
I'd say for a lot of developers it's possible to wear both hats, to be a PHP developer and a Magento developer. And at least for our developers it's that case, and I hope for me too. So I don't see that as a real threat from a technology point of view, perhaps from a perception point of view. Of course, I wouldn't market myself as a PHP developer, but as a Magento developer. But I'd still be able to get into PHP plain vanilla development pretty, and I think that goes for many professional developers.
But you were specialized in Magento, so it makes sense there. If you're, okay, so my company is a very generic company. We do everything, as long as it's PHP related, and even there we are branching out further beyond PHP. But if I'm hiring, I cannot find PHP developers anymore.
I had the same feeling with like Laravel, that people know how to use the framework, but don't understand what the framework really does, like behind the scenes, like parameters and $_ get inside, and I think that's what we exactly need.
But maybe just question, like back to you. Maybe it's time to stop hiring PHP developers and start hiring software engineers that understand this concept. There is a switcher. If you are like Magento developer, but once you looked into Symfony, and then you looked in Laravel, you never become a Magento developer again. And it's not about Magento. It's about anything. Like, if you start to be serious, but again, you look into two other frameworks, you became, and look, it doesn't mean that you open the demo and it's done, right? That if you tried it, you played with this, and you understood it, your sandbox, you became a software engineer, and it's very hard to turn you back.
Yeah,
very hard.
I would say the most important thing is that we should not ever limit ourselves. Like, obviously we will specialize in some things. Obviously I will probably in most of my life will be specialized in a Sylius development. You will be specialized in Shopware, you'll be Spryker, you'll be Magento. That's good. That's okay. The threat is if we are thinking that I'm a Sylius developer or Symfony developer, and that's all. Like I'm a Symfony developer, and I don't think even about using any other technology or not using Symfony at all. So this is the problem. I think that again, it may be a case of my bubble, but in Polish PHP community recently there was a huge hype for this framework agnostic more way of coding. A lot of the people were asking out loud about do we even need any frameworks if we can solve the problems that we have without them. A lot of the people are approaching the way of using, for example, Symfony or Laravel are just one specialized layer in their applications and doing all of the other things from the framework agnostic way. And again, I think that the higher we are putting this point of specializing ourselves, so we can say that even putting ourselves as PHP developers is a threat because we are not open to other technologies, obviously. But we can say that, okay, so we can say that we are software engineers, but do we even think about AI? We have been talking about AI. Are we open to using the AI for solving our problems? So there's always the point that we can go higher regarding specialization, so be more generalized and specialized. It's not a problem. The problem is if we are limiting ourselves. I feel sorry that we are having the problems with hiring the good people. I totally.
We all do, by the way.
We all do. I totally agree with the suggestion that even switching the naming of the people that we are trying to hire, like that we are not hiring the PHP developers, we are trying the software engineers, software engineers that will work with PHP, because right now we are working with PHP. That's like names matters. We know that as programmers that naming really matters, and it not only matters in programming, but it also matters in life. Depending how we are naming things, we are thinking about it in a different way. I don't know how it will be in the future. I don't feel personally this problem right now as for example, as an agency owner, because maybe this is the maybe I'm just lucky. Maybe I'm just reaching people that are more focused on being specializing would be engineers rather than framework developers. But I agree that if we will be moving into the area that we are specializing, by specializing I mean limiting to any other thing, that like thinking only with in one direction and nothing else, like it would be a problem. The other thing is that will it ever be possible in the nearest future? Because in the nearest future, probably our work will be changing like drastically with, for example, AI and all of the tools that we have. Maybe it will not be a problem anymore in the future, because in 10 years we will have only one language of programming which will be fully AI based. Because why not? Why not? Because maybe it will not matter at all in the future. So making long answer short, I understand what you are talking. I don't have personally this problem. I think that specializing too much, being too focused is a problem. Obviously, being too generalized is also a problem. If you are just doing everything but nothing in a good way.
Yeah. There is one more thing that probably also can shape this the answer or the solution to this problem, is that is being a PHP or Symfony developer and being a software engineer. It's not different qualification levels. It's not like you are junior being Symfony developer and then you are senior because you're a software engineer. That's not the point. You can also have junior software engineers. It's really the way how you approach things. And again, there is a massive change now happening, that you want software engineers, people who understand the very conceptual part of the sticking systems together, talking specializing the problem statement, understanding how would I approach it, because if you would ask me to write a piece of code now on Magento, what I would do, I would write it on Spryker and ask ChatGPT, please transform it in Magento, and it will be working. Yeah, that's crazy. That's it. So that's again, but it doesn't happen that because I understand Magento well, or it happens because I understand the programming well, right? That's where we should really focus on.
Does it answer your question?
Sort of, yes.
Sort of. That's everything that we can give you right now.
Will not answer. Would anyone else want to join with a question? Okay, then thank you. I think 2 hours is absolutely enough, and we're free then now. So special thank you for those 4 again. And I think the most of us will agree that they absolutely have to become some of these elephants here, right? Anyone else is against it if we bring some elephants from these to these? I think Sona have already one. To the other 3? Okay.
So one I'm board as we're finalizing, right?
Sure.
So there is one thing also in your question about splitting the PHP community. And I think that while we are busy with our stuff, working on Magento, Spryker, Sylius, and Shopware, right? We sometimes can get too busy of solving our problems and not really contributing back to community from which we take so much. So, and I think that's where we can really get better at. And Oliver did today much more to Symfony and PHP community than I did in the last year. Just the fact that we are talking about these problems together now, it's actually important because then we can recognize what is in common rather than what separates us, right? And that's where we can contribute together to back to the community, to Symfony community, to Laravel community, to PHP community together. So thank you also for getting us together.